Welcome to the Neuropreneur Rising podcast. I'm your host, Polly Pollock, and I'm a marketing mentor, author, and neurospicy business owner, here to guide you in the journey of growing your business, getting seen, and getting clients on your terms. This is the place to be if you're an ADHD or neurodiverse entrepreneur and you're done with forcing yourself into marketing and business strategies that feel restrictive and awkward, and you're ready to embrace how your unique mind works so you can create the success that you deserve. On this podcast, we're going to be talking about ADHD and neuro-friendly marketing, dopamine-driven and sustainable business strategies, and how to get seen and paid your way without the burnout. And a little something to get you started before we dive in. If you're tired of staring at a blank screen when it comes to creating your content, wondering what the hell to post, go and grab the neuro-friendly content kit. It's free and it was built by me for brains like ours. It takes the overwhelm and the confusion and the frustration out of content creation and helps you really showcase your brand and convert your audience into customers. Go ahead and grab it in the show notes. All right, let's jump in. Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be going into something that I really wish I was told when I was first growing my business, which is the hidden marketing traps that keep ADHD and neurodiverse entrepreneurs stuck and how to escape that trap. I feel like this is a really interesting topic because there really are some marketing struggles that are and overall business struggles that are so sneaky, they don't even feel noticeable. You think you might be being really productive, but really you're just kind of on a hamster wheel and staying in the same place, but working yourself silly. And so I have compiled a list of things that I can remember doing myself and things that I have really seen as a common pattern within neurodiverse entrepreneurs that really do keep you stuck and keep you kind of plateauing, and how you can start to break away from those patterns so that you can start marketing yourself and getting clients and getting seen in a way that actually feels good and not restrictive and not repetitive and not frustrating. So let's just dive straight in. Trap number one is, and I spoke about this in the last episode a little bit, or the episode before that, constantly changing your strategy before it has a chance to work. I do get this a lot with new clients and new audience members, and it's like, oh, okay, so I've changed my strategy recently, kind of going over, okay, well, what's been going on recently? Well, I changed my strategy recently and I've been kind of doing it for the last 2 weeks and, nothing's happening. Nothing's working. Should I change it again? And they have normally changed it every 2 weeks before that as well. And this is probably the worst thing you can do. I kind of have a 3-month rule, depending on what you're changing your strategy with. I have a 3-month rule. 3 months is give or take, is normally a pretty good chance to see if something is working. And again, not all the time. And it needs real consistency in your own way, but it does need consistency and it does need the kind of resilience not to pull back and go back to an old strategy. And that's really how you can see it works. But the ADHD brain, really, it thrives off of dopamine, right? It thrives off of novelty and shiny new toys, and it does thrive on quick fixes. Our brain naturally wants it. And so we naturally love to jump to the next idea before the last one actually has had time to take off and before we have been able to reap any rewards from it. But the thing is, and again, this is why it keeps you burnt out, is that doing that keeps you in an endless cycle of just starting over rather than actually building momentum. So really what it comes down to is, and yes, I know you're not going to want to hear this, being patient and just having those boundaries with yourself. Because I feel like when it gets hard is when you don't know that that's the reason it's happening. And so if you can recognize this in yourself and you say, okay, actually that's the thing that is stopping this from happening, you can begin then to set those boundaries with, no, I'm not going to change my strategy in 2 weeks. I'm not going to do it. And so you can then give your strategies enough time before switching things up. So if you change anything, set a minimum testing period for yourself and make sure you don't change it. Because again, I think the problem really is when we're unaware of it and then we don't know how to fix it. As real as the ADHD struggles are, we sometimes can be better than we think with setting boundaries. So that's what I would say about that. Trap number 2, this, oh my gosh, this, I could talk about this all day. And this again is what I used to do a lot, is mistaking content consumption for action and creation. Things like binge watching marketing tips and business tips and business advice, or looking at other people's reels, or looking at other people's success and what they're creating and what they're doing. And, even if it's education, if you're sat there crippling yourself because you're just watching every Tom, Dick, and Harry, saying that they're an expert on Instagram, which there are many, and consuming that all day long, you think you're being really productive because that's what your brain thinks, but you're not actually doing anything in terms of taking action and marketing your business. You're just consuming, and you're probably overwhelming yourself and confusing yourself a lot more than needed. And how this works with an ADHD brain especially is that because you're consuming that information, because you're consuming it in the way it's being told, your mind is getting that dopamine hit from learning something. Yeah, and it kind of tricks you into that same feeling that you get when you're being productive. Even if you don't implement anything, you could sit there and consume loads of information all day. And don't get me wrong, there are days where you should have days where you learn, but learn it in the right way. There's a very big difference between doing a course that you've really got invested in, or working with your mentor, or reading, than just going on Instagram and listening to every Instagram guru thinking they're an expert spouting the same shit. Just being mindful of your consumption and not letting it completely govern your day. That would be my tip for that. So trap number 3 is kind of like a mixture of kind of what we're prone to as ADHDers and neurodiverse entrepreneurs, but also it's kind of a self-sabotage thing that I see in even neurotypical people. And that is overcomplicating your marketing so much that you never actually do it. I said this to my good friend Claire like a couple of weeks ago, and I said to her, it's kind of like stop pining over perfection. She was like, I really like the way you put that. And I was like, yeah, but it's true. It's like you pine over perfection, and really it is procrastination as well. And procrastination sometimes does link to the fear of being seen. If you do all this busy work in the background, then you don't actually have to be seen. You don't actually have to put it out there. You don't actually have to deal and celebrate the success that you're probably going to get if you do put it out there, rather than just keeping it, away. So things like, I need a perfect strategy. I need a perfect 90-day content plan lined up and laid out. And I see this a lot with things like, on socials and on websites. I need the perfect aesthetics and all the colors. Like your brand is like, put it this way, your visual brand, if it is not a priority. Your branding, so like your story, the aura of your business, your vision, your mission, your branding is important, but the visuals, they can take a hike for now because they're not the most important thing. But that's the kind of thing, tinkering about on Canva, writing loads of things in your notes. That's kind of the procrastination that I'm talking about. It's just like busy work. But really, this kind of perfectionism / procrastination mixed together with ADHD means that we create so many barriers to action that we stay stuck in planning mode, where our brain kind of gets that dopamine high and then low and then high and then low, and we don't actually put anything out there. So what I would do for this is setting minimum actions that you can do for each thing that you plan out. For everything that you plan out, take an action. So these are like little steps that kind of move the needle, even on your low energy days, to make sure that you're not getting stuck in just overworking. And it's like a washing machine of planning and notes and fucking graphics and God, whatever else. Trap 4 is trying to be everywhere at once and burning out in the process, to be honest. You don't need to be, especially not when you're just starting out, you don't need to be worrying about being everywhere at once. You don't need to be on YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, Substack, Instagram, Facebook. You don't need to be on all of those at once. I would go for whatever you feel drawn to and for whatever makes more sense in terms of those kind of platforms for your ideal client and your work. For ADHD and neurodiverse entrepreneurs, the pressure to maximize visibility will only lead you to one place, and that place is exhaustion. You are so much better off picking a couple of things that you know you can be consistent with and putting your effort into that. And again, if you want a good way to put this into practice, go ahead and just listen to the episode before that on repurposing. That will make things a lot easier. And if you do choose 2 or 3 platforms to be on, that will make that a lot better. And finally, trap 5 is thinking your business is doing really bad when really the reality of it is it just takes time. Again, it's the quick fix mentality. It's the kind of overnight success mentality that we've kind of all been subjected to at some point of the other. We see it a lot online, and there's this expectation to be an overnight success. And for people with dopamine driven brains, that means that it's like, oh fuck yeah, I'm going to be an overnight success. I'm going to put all this work in. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to get clients tomorrow because this information said I'm guaranteed to do it. And then when that doesn't happen, because well, that's not the reality of business, we get really butthurt about it. And then we end up feeling triggered, our rejection sensitivities going off, and we're like, oh my God, my business is struggling, it's shit. I remember feeling all of those things. And again, same thing with my new clients. And it's normally not that your business is struggling. It's like, well, how long have you been running your business? Oh, well, 6 months or a year. And it's like, well, just because you haven't made 10k months in your first year, because that's what you've been told is normal, I don't think your business is struggling. And again, of course, this is related to focusing on the wrong things, or not having marketing built out sustainably, and you haven't been getting the visibility that you need quick enough because you've only been focusing on social media. There's 1,000 different things that can be related to your growth or lack thereof in business, but also cutting yourself a bit of slack. Because just because, so-and-so online said, I made 10k months in my first 2 months in business, no, doesn't mean it's true, TBH, and it doesn't mean it's normal. So I just want to stress that quite strongly. So I'm going to round it off there. Please let me know how this landed with you, whether you can relate to these kind of very real struggles that we go through as neurospicy business owners. Please DM me on Instagram. I love to hear how you feel about things that I have said. I love to hear when it's, really hit home, or when you really resonated, or whether it's helped you. So please DM me at Neuropreneur Rising. Again, everything will be in the show notes. I will leave the link to my freebies. I will leave the link to my 2 or 4 week mentorship intensives and my long-term mentorship as well, so you can have that all there. But I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you next time.